The late nights, the cold distance, the excuses. She wasn't exhausted. She wasn't stressed. She was screwing her boss. Cynthia used to kiss me every morning before I left for work. It was our little ritual. Whether she was still in bed or rushing to get ready herself, she would always pull me in, press her lips against mine, and tell me to have a great day. Sometimes she'd even send me a text an hour later saying, "I miss you already." Then, one day, the kiss didn't happen. I thought nothing of it at first. Maybe she was just distracted or running late. But then another day passed. And another. Soon, the kisses were gone altogether. She stopped saying goodbye. She stopped texting me during the day. When I brought it up, she brushed it off. "I just get so busy at work," she said. "You know how crazy things have been lately." I nodded, accepting her words at face value. Because at the time, I had no reason not to. But then, it got worse. We used to hold hands all the time. Whether we were walking through the grocery store, strolling in the park, or even sitting on the couch watching TV, she would instinctively reach for my hand. Sometimes, she'd rub little circles on the back of my palm with her thumb, something she did absent-mindedly, but something that always made me feel loved. Then, she stopped. I tested it once. One evening, while we were out for dinner, I reached across the table and placed my hand over hers. She barely looked up from her phone and casually pulled her hand away to take a sip of her drink. That was when I realized it wasn't an accident. The intimacy was fading. At night, our conversations became robotic. I would ask her how her day was, and she would answer with a bland, "Fine." No details, no excitement. Just a flat, lifeless response. "Anything interesting happen?" I would press. "No, not really," she'd say, barely looking up from her phone. I'd try to fill the silence, telling her about my day, funny moments at work, or things I had read online. She would nod, hum in response, but I could tell she wasn't really listening. She had checked out. Then, the sex stopped. And I don't mean it slowed down, I mean it stopped. Completely. At first it was just a few rejections. "I'm tired. I had a long day. I have a headache." I believed her. I understood. Work could be exhausting. But then 1 week turned into 2. 2 weeks turned into a month. Then 2 months. I tried to be patient. I told myself it was a phase. One night, I made an effort. I set the mood, lit candles, played her favorite soft music, and ran her a warm bath. I even massaged her shoulders, trying to ease whatever stress she was carrying. She leaned into it for a moment, sighing softly. I thought maybe, just maybe, things were going to be okay. Then, the second I tried to take it further, she stiffened. "I'm just not in the mood, Michael," she said, pulling away. I swallowed my disappointment and nodded. "Okay." I didn't push. I never pushed. But I couldn't ignore how cold she was, how distant, how she had completely shut me out. Still, I gave her the benefit of the doubt. I told myself she was going through something. Maybe work was overwhelming her. Maybe she was just stressed. Maybe it was hormones. So, I did what a loving husband should do. I stepped up. I took over more household chores so she wouldn't have to worry about them. I made sure dinner was ready when she got home, hoping she'd feel more relaxed. I surprised her with little gifts, a bouquet of flowers, a handwritten note tucked into her purse, a weekend getaway to a cozy cabin just for the two of us. But nothing worked. The more I tried, the further she pulled away. She stopped responding to my touches, stopped appreciating my efforts, stopped seeing me. And the worst part? She didn't seem to care. Something was wrong. And deep down, I knew what it was. I just didn't want to believe it. It happened on a random Tuesday evening. I had just finished washing the dishes, wiping my hands dry when Cynthia walked past me, mumbling something about taking a shower. She barely acknowledged me. No kiss, no affectionate touch, just a detached, lifeless presence that had become the norm. I sighed and leaned against the counter, watching her disappear down the hallway. Maybe I should have just gone to bed. Maybe I should have kept watching TV. But instead, I followed her to our bedroom, hoping, stupidly hoping, that maybe tonight would be different, that maybe she'd come out of that shower, see me waiting, and remember that I was her husband, not just a roommate she occasionally spoke to. She left her phone on the nightstand. That was the first red flag. Cynthia never left her phone unattended, not even for a second. She took it everywhere, to the bathroom, to the kitchen, even to bed, where she'd turn away from me, lost in her screen until she eventually fell asleep. But tonight, she left it out in the open, face up. I almost ignored it. Almost. But then the screen lit up. A message notification. I didn't mean to look, but I did. And it changed everything. The message read, "Last night was amazing. Can't wait to feel those lips again. Same place tonight?" My heart slammed against my ribs so hard I felt dizzy. I stared at the screen, my mind refusing to process the words. Last night was amazing. Can't wait to feel those lips again. Same place tonight? Number. I grabbed the phone, my hands trembling as I checked the sender's name. Mr. Campbell, her boss. The air left my lungs in a sharp, painful rush. I suddenly felt like I was suffocating. My mind reeled back to the countless times Cynthia had told me she was too tired, too stressed, too overwhelmed to even kiss me. But she had enough energy for this? Enough energy to cheat? The pieces snapped together like a cruel, twisted puzzle. The late nights, the cold distance, the excuses. She wasn't exhausted. She wasn't stressed. She was screwing her boss. I felt something hot and ugly rise in my chest, a rage so intense I thought I might explode. My grip tightened around the phone so hard I thought I might crack the screen. I wanted to storm into the bathroom and demand answers. I wanted to scream at her, to drag her out of the shower, to shove the phone in her face and force her to admit what she had done. I wanted her to feel the same pain that was tearing through me like 1,000 knives. But I didn't. Because if she could lie to my face all this time, if she could pretend to be exhausted, uninterested, completely detached from me, then she wouldn't hesitate to lie again. I needed proof. I needed to be smart. So, I forced myself to breathe. I forced myself to swallow the rage, the heartbreak, the overwhelming betrayal choking me. And I did the hardest thing I had ever done in my life. I put the phone back down, exactly where I found it. Then I waited. That night, Cynthia came out of the bathroom, her hair damp, and slid into bed beside me without a second glance. "Hey," I said, keeping my voice calm. How was work?" "Same as usual, tiring." I studied her face, searching for a flicker of guilt, but she was good, too good. I took a deep breath and said, "I saw a message on your phone." Her body tensed, but she quickly composed herself. "What message?" "From Mr. Campbell." She sat up, her expression shifting into one of annoyance. "Michael, are you seriously going through my phone now?" "I didn't go through it. Your screen lit up and I saw it." She scoffed. "It was probably a joke. He flirts with everyone. That's just how he is." I clenched my jaw. "So, you're telling me your boss randomly sends messages about how much he enjoyed last night?" She rolled her eyes. "He was probably talking about dinner. We had a late-night meeting. Nothing happened." She was lying. I knew she was lying. But I didn't have enough to catch her yet. So I let it go. For now. A week later, Cynthia told me about a company dinner party. "It's important," she said. "You should come." She looked me in the eye when she said it. A perfect, well-practiced wife-to-husband gaze, warm, expectant, deceptive. I studied her for a moment, searching for something, guilt, hesitation, anything. But she gave me nothing, not a flicker of remorse. I forced a smile. "Of course, I'll be there." I wasn't excited about pretending to be the happy husband in a room full of corporate sharks, but I saw it as an opportunity. Maybe, just maybe, I could find out the truth, or at least confirm what I already knew. The event was being held at an upscale hotel, 5-star everything. Crystal chandeliers, golden decor, tuxedoed waiters gliding through the room with expensive champagne. The kind of place that screamed wealth and power. Cynthia was dressed to match. A sleek black dress hugged her body perfectly, the kind of dress that made men stare. The kind of dress that once would have made me proud. Now, it made me sick. I could barely stand to look at her. She moved through the room like she owned it, laughing, shaking hands, flashing that dazzling smile that once had me wrapped around her finger. But I wasn't fooled anymore. I spent the first hour watching, observing, noticing the subtle ways her boss, Mr. Campbell, hovered too close, the way his eyes lingered on her body longer than appropriate, the way she let him. Then, halfway through the night, Cynthia turned to me. "I need to use the restroom," she said with a sweet smile. I nodded, but as soon as she walked off, I knew. She wasn't going to the restroom. She had a different destination in mind. My heart pounded. I gave it a few seconds, then followed. Moving quickly but carefully, I slipped past groups of people, my eyes locked on her figure as she navigated through the grand hall. And then, there it was. Instead of heading toward the bathrooms, Cynthia took a turn down a different hallway, a hallway that led to the executive offices, a private area. My stomach twisted into a knot. I kept my distance, my pulse thundering in my ears, my blood ice cold. With each step, the air grew heavier, the walls seemed to close in. Then I heard it, a soft moan. I froze. The sound echoed faintly down the corridor, but I recognized it. A sound I had longed to hear for months, a sound that had once belonged to me. But it wasn't for me anymore. It was for him. I clenched my jaw so hard it hurt, forcing myself forward, drawn by a dark, terrible force. Then I heard it again, clearer this time, a sultry, needy moan, followed by a muffled grunt. I reached the end of the hallway, my hands shaking with rage. The office door was slightly ajar. I swallowed hard, staring at the narrow opening, knowing that whatever I saw beyond it would be permanent. There would be no turning back. Taking a slow, measured breath, I stepped closer, and I saw her. Cynthia, on her knees. Her boss's hands tangled in her hair as she worked her mouth over him like she had done it 1,000 times before. The world stopped. For a second, I thought I might pass out. My vision blurred, my hands clenched into fists so tight my nails dug into my palms. I wanted to unsee it. I wanted it to be a nightmare, a twisted, horrible nightmare that I would wake up from. But it was real. It was real. And the worst part? She had lied. She always told me she hated doing that it wasn't her thing, that she didn't enjoy it, yet here she was, giving it to him like a damn porn star. Lies. All of it. Something inside me snapped. I could have barged in, I could have screamed, I could have grabbed Mr. Campbell by his smug, entitled face and smashed it into the desk. I could have dragged Cynthia out of there and forced her to face me, to explain, to beg for forgiveness. But I didn't. Because in that moment, I knew she wasn't worth it, not anymore. So I turned around, and I walked away. By the time Cynthia returned home that night, I was gone. I packed my things, left my wedding ring on the nightstand, and walked out of the house we built together. She called me 20 times. I didn't answer. She texted me, asking where I was. I didn't reply. I wasn't going to waste another second on a woman who never valued me. She didn't deserve my anger. She didn't deserve my heartbreak. She deserved nothing. And that's exactly what she was going to get. Nothing. A month later, the divorce papers were signed. Cynthia tried to apologize. She said it was a mistake, but I didn't care. Now she was just another chapter in my past.